Mixing and Mastering 101. In this presentation, we will show you all the elements required to make a song and how to properly mix and master them. Our scientist, From Enviyon, will be conducting this experiment. Kids, don't try this at home. This basic distiller represents cooking up a beat. As you can see, this beat is cooking. The beakers here represent all the elements of a beat: the bass, the kick drum, the hi-hat, and the melodic instruments. It's really important that the producer puts the correct amount of elements in each beaker. Otherwise, the beat may be distorted, have too much bass, be too thin, or otherwise not be able to be mastered properly. Each individual element of the beat in each of these beakers represent the track stems. Track stems are useful during the mixing process just in case the producer didn't mix the beat very well. This allows the engineer to remove bass, add more bass, or otherwise mix this beat down properly. Once the producer is satisfied with the amount of elements he has mixed in the beakers, he can begin to mix them all together to make a WAV file, MP3 file, or M4A file. Please note that once these elements are mixed together, you cannot undo this process. The engineer would need the track stems if there is a desire to create an alternate mix of these files. If you notice, the WAV file, M4A file, and MP3 files are different sizes. These represent how much content of the beat can fit into each flask. The more content you fit in the flask, the higher the quality of the beat. Although the MP3 flask is the most compatible with most devices and what we normally download from the internet, it is the lowest quality of all three, meaning that most of the information in the WAV flask cannot fit in the MP3 flask. In other words, we are leaving some quality behind. The M4A file type is typically found on users that download beats to their phones. This file type is better than MP3, but still does not have the capacity of a WAV file. A misconception that if you take an MP3 file and convert it to an M4A file or a WAV file, you get better quality. But as you can see here, the MP3 file only has so much quality in it, which means that even if you convert it to a WAV or M4A, you are only filling up the flask to the amount of quality that the MP3 has. You are still stuck with the same quality that originated from the MP3. The last element that a producer must take into account before he delivers the beat is the headroom. The headroom represents how much space at the top of the flask is available so that we may add vocals on top of this beat. If the beat has no headroom, then we may hit some distortion or clipping while recording our vocals on top of this beat. Please note that if an engineer gets a beat that has zero headroom, they have no choice but to pour some of the content out in order to make sure the vocals sit on top properly. This means to re-EQ the beat or turn the beat down so that we have some type of headroom during the recording process. This EQing, in order to allow room for the vocals, could change the sound of the beat. However, it is necessary in order to make sure that this recording sounds its best. Now, let's add vocals on top of this beat. These cylinders represent the basic vocal elements: the main vocals, the ad-libs, and the backgrounds. These represent the acapellas. Once the vocals are mixed with the beat elements, you now have a mix. A good mixed song, depending on the taste and the desire by the artist, is a song where you can hear the vocals, the ad-libs, the backgrounds, and all the beat elements in a mixture where they all complement each other. Once the final mix is complete, the engineer may bounce this song out to a WAV, MP3, or other medium type. Please note that once these elements are mixed together, you cannot undo this process. The engineer would have to go back into the recording session in order to make adjustments to either the beat or to the vocals. As before, just like when the producer made the beat, the engineer's mix should have headroom. Headroom on a mixed song allows an engineer to master the mixed song. Mastering is when an engineer adds more elements on top of this mix, such as compression, limiting, imaging, EQing, and more. Adding these final elements on top of the mix will create a balance that is more acceptable on an industry standard. Without the proper headroom on a mix, you could get some distortion, or the engineer may not be able to add all the elements needed because there's no room left in the mix. There you have it, Mixing and Mastering 101. If you're interested in getting your beat, your vocals, your song mix, or master done properly by people who understands the process, contact us today at www.enviyon.com, where you can see a variety of options on how to make your mix right.